Hey, sweet friends, my name is Rachel, and this is Rock City Cookies. Today, we are going to be decorating a set of cookies that I made for Valentine's Day. However, this particular design of cookie can be used at any time of year. You can modify the colors, you can use it for a lot of various themes, but I do happen to think it's a great one to add to your Valentine's Day sets. So today, we are going to be decorating the Heart Eyes cookies. Now, I did do this design in a variety of colors, so you are going to see me decorate this cookie multiple times as I walk you through some of the different color combinations that I used. So without further ado, let's get going. Welcome to Rock City Cookies, where we talk about all things cookies. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon to be notified when we upload a new video. Thanks for watching. As we start, let's talk about what cookie cutter I am using for this particular design. So all of these heart eye cookies, these emoji cookies, are done on a circle cookie. Now I know you can get a circle cookie cutter anywhere, but I highly recommend the set that I got off of Amazon. I use them all of the time. They have held up so well, and you get all sorts of sizes for one low price, and they all stack within each other, and they have a container that holds them all, so that's nice and organized, and you can hold it all in one spot and it doesn't take up much room, and you get a lot of bang for your buck. So I will be sure and link it down below. So this is the tin that they come in, and then you just, my microphone's not gonna like this, sorry. When you remove the lid, you can see all of the different sizes that you get in one cookie cutter set. It's amazing. And they all stack, you can see they all stack so neatly within each other. And you can use all of the different sizes. So about the 3.5 is about halfway through. So you get your average size, which is what most cookie cutters use for their average, is 3.5 inches wide. That's about what, if you are looking up a cookie cutter, that's most of the mediums in all of the cookie cutter shops, including my own. So everything above that is bigger sizes and everything below it is littler sizes. And I use the little ones as guides all the time. When I need a circle on a cookie, I'll just use my cookie cutter, my small one, I'll indent it in the cookie just a little bit, and I'll use that to be able to trace around and do perfect circles for my designs. Or you can use them for cutouts if you're making a donut cookie or some sort of like a bagel or something like that where you need the center cut out of your cookie. You can use these for that as well. You don't have to have a whole separate cookie cutter just for a bagel or just for a donut or just for something along those lines. I really love this set, and I highly recommend it. So again, I'll link it, and I promise you, you will use them over and over and over again. And yes, we are a cookie cutter shop, but I don't want to make the circle cookie cutters when I know that there's something out there already so much better than what we could produce. I would rather just point you in this direction, because we could never do this many cookie cutters and have them nest so beautifully and have such a great organizer to store them in for the same price that you could get these. So head on over to Amazon, grab these. You won't regret it. Back to the regularly scheduled program, let's talk about this design. To begin, you will always want to outline your cookie. Again, I know I say this all the time. I use a thick consistency icing when I outline. Now, there are cookiers out there who will use the same consistency to outline and flood. If that works for you, awesome. For me, I have to have the thicker outline, and it's just what I've always done, so I'm always going to continue to do that. But I use the thicker outline, and I outline the circle around the edge of my cookie. Why do you do that? You do that so that your icing does not spill over the edge, because your flood icing, which is what you see me using now, is a thinner consistency icing, which means that water was added to it to thin it down. Because of that, you are going to have the possibility of the icing running over the edge of your cookie because it's thin icing. Now, I do happen to prefer a little bit of a thicker icing, but still, if I didn't have that outline to kind of hold that icing onto my cookie, I would still have it pull over the edge if I got too close to the edge. So that outline just makes sure your icing behaves and it stays on the cookie where you want it to. After you flood your cookie, you are going to want to use a scribe tool to get out any air bubbles. And using a scribe tool also helps to smooth out your icing. So you're using it in two ways. You're using it to make sure your icing is nice and smooth, and you're using it to get out air bubbles, because air bubbles will rise up to the top and will pop while your icing is drying. And you can actually see in one of my cookies, in just a minute, I'll point out when it happens, you can actually see where an icing bubble popped in my icing. And so I didn't get that one, and you'll be able to see what it looks like. There are times though that we have really big icing bubbles come to the top of your cookie, and then it becomes really fragile on the top. And if you accidentally touch it, it could pop a hole in your icing. So you just want to make sure if you can, get out those icing bubbles, those air bubbles, because it really does make a difference in how your cookie looks as well as how stable it is. Now, after you have outlined your cookie, flooded your cookie, got the air bubbles out, you will need to let your cookie dry, and you will do this under a fan if possible. This will help speed up the process. It'll also help give your cookies a little bit of a shine, which I personally prefer. I think it gives a little bit more of a clean and professional look than a matte drying look. And then you're just going to add your design on top. So I did actually project this design onto the top of my cookie, and we'll talk about why I did that in just a minute. So with icing of whatever color you want, you can either do the same color on top, so you can do a monotone look, or you can do a different color on top to kind of give your cookie a various shades look or a contrasting look. They're really, the options here are endless. I just wanted to make sure I used all of my colors in various combinations, and so you will see me use different combinations throughout this video. But you will outline the circle with just a line all the way around the circle. You will outline the smile, and then you will outline the heart eyes, and then come back with a medium consistency icing, fill those in. Use your scribe tool, get it all nice and smooth. Make sure you're using a little bit of a thicker icing here. And once it's all nice and smooth, you are done with this design. I mean, it is easy peasy. While you're watching me decorate the second color combination in this set, I do want to mention why I use my projector. So let's talk about that just a little bit more. This design is one that is really simple, and you absolutely could do this without a projector. So if you don't have a projector, 100% you could do this without a projector. It is just a smiley face and hard eyes. That can definitely be done on your own. But the reason why I used the projector was because it gave each cookie consistency. So every single cookie had the exact same line around the outside. It had the exact same size of smile and shape of smile. It had the exact same size of hard eyes. And I'm making sure that I'm taking great pictures of my sets because it's content. It's content for YouTube. It's content for my social media. And I do also want my client to be happy. So for me, having that perfection and making sure that each cookie looks as close as possible to the last one, so that I have that quality control, that design control, just that perfectionism when I can. I know I do that because of my business. I don't necessarily think that you have to do that when you are just giving your customer some cookies, as long as you're satisfied with the quality that you have. I don't always use my projector. However, with this, I'm going to show you now the difference between using my projector and when I didn't use my projector, just to see if I could do it without. And you can very clearly see that without my projector versus with my projector, my cookie has a very, very different quality to it. If you were going to choose which one you wanted your cookie to look like, or which one your cookier made for you, I think nine out of 10 people would say they wanted the one with the projector. It just looks better. It's a better finished product. Now, some people may not care, and they may like the one that without the projector just as well. There's really nothing wrong with that cookie, but when you compare it to the one with the projector, it does look so much better. So when you have that option, I do recommend giving your client as polished of a product as you can. And if that means using a projector, then use a projector. And I know many of you are like, listen, I'm at the beginning of my business. I cannot afford a projector. Totally with you. The first 2 years of my business, I did not have a projector at all, but I could tell a huge difference when I got one. I'm talking about the very first set I did. As soon as I got that projector, immediately my skill level went so much higher at the very first time I ever used that projector. It really does make that big of a difference. So if you can save up that $200 investment to get the projector, to get the cords, to get what you need to actually use your projector, it's about $200, but it is so worth it. It is so worth it. So if you can do it, I highly recommend saving up that money from your business profits and using that, because it really will, one, simplify your life. You'll be able to crank out designs faster. You'll feel more confident in what you're doing, and you'll be able to charge more because your skill level will get better and better and better with the use of that projector. Now, with my color designs here, I chose a color palette that I knew would be okay for girls and boys because I was doing this for my child's class. So I knew I wanted a color design that I could give to boys and girls in the class and it would match well. I didn't want to do just your traditional pink and blue. I really just went on Pinterest and I looked up Valentine's Day color palettes. I think I did cool, like COOL, like cool toned color palettes, and various colors came up. So if you're looking for a color palette, you don't really know what exactly you want, that is what I do often. I will go to Pinterest and I will look up color palettes of whatever I'm looking for. So Valentine's Day, Christmas, 4th of July, any kind of color palette you can imagine, fall. Really, if you just look up color palette and then fill in the blank, you will have lots of options pull up for you from color designers that will assemble a color palette that looks good together. And so I don't always use all of the color palettes that I see, like all of the colors in that color palette, but if I see some colors that go well together and I'm drawn to them, I will just screenshot it on my phone. And then when I'm going to color my icing, I'll just have that pulled up and I'll just try to get my colors to match as close as I can or get in somewhere in the same family. So that is what I did here. I wanted to have 2 tones of purple and then like 3 tones of a bluey green color. So that is how I chose this color palette. It was not from my brain. I just went to Pinterest and I used what I saw there as my inspiration for this set. So I did a dark purple, a light purple, a dark teal, a kind of lighter teal, and then something that's more in the bluish family. So it was kind of in between. It had more blue in it than it did green, but it still complemented the others. So when I'm doing colors like this, and I'm coloring my icing, I definitely keep all of my icing bags that I've made close by. And as I'm coloring that icing, I will pull that icing bag, the ones that I have completed, and I'll kind of put them over the icing bowl that I'm working on. And I'll just kind of compare them like, does that look good together or not? Do I need to change it a little bit or not? So that is how I tend to do my icing when I'm doing a color palette that I need everything to kind of coordinate with. And so I'm just constantly referring to the colors I've already made, looking at my inspiration picture, and just making sure that all of the colors go together before I bag that specific color. And I'm really sorry that I keep having sunlight on my face. I keep trying to dodge it. Maybe I'm going to scoot back this way now. There we go. You just keep going on a journey with me. I keep trying to dodge the sun coming in. This is our new house, and I'm kind of stuck in this room, so I don't really have great options for going somewhere else to record. We are in our new home, and I lost my cookie room and by moving to this house. We gained a lot more when we moved to this house, but one thing I did lose was my own private cookie room. So now I have to record in my bedroom, and as you can see, like we just don't really have anything up yet, and I am limited by, I have windows right in front of me and I'm limited by what time of day I record, and I didn't realize the sun was going to be coming in right here on me. So sorry that I keep getting sunlight on my face. One more thing I want to mention when talking about this particular cookie design is that you can do royal icing transfers for the eyes. So while I did use my projector and I piped on the eyes, if I was doing it right now, I actually probably would have done some royal icing transfers instead. And the reason for that is because I feel like I can crank out way more royal icing transfers and let those dry on their own than I can by doing designs like that on the cookie themselves. Now, when I did this particular design of cookies, at that time, I was not making my own royal icing transfer templates, which I am now. So as a member, you always get my royal icing transfer sheets for free. As soon as I create them, I post them and you're able to access those as long as you want for free. But if you're not a member, then you can get them on Etsy for either $1.50 for just the one page of transfers that has different sizes, or you can get the bundle for $3, which has multiple pages, and then there's one design on each page. And those are available on my Etsy shop. So if you're not a member, you can access them there. But when I made these cookies, I was not doing that yet. So since I wasn't doing them yet, I didn't have those to be able to use instead of just projecting the heart onto my cookie and doing them that way. But I actually prefer to use royal icing transfers now when I'm talking about doing details like the heart eyes. And the reason for that is because I can do way more on a transfer sheet for so much faster than I can by using my projector and piping them onto the cookie. So you are still maintaining that consistency using royal icing transfers because you're able to have the same size. It's a full sheet of one size of hearts. So you can can still use those and put them onto your cookie, and all of your cookies will match because they're all the same size from that transfer sheet. But you're not having to have your projector on the whole time, which is kind of hard sometimes. It blinds you a little bit. And so I turn my projector on, off, because when the projector's on, I can't really see what I'm doing all that well. And plus, it's just bulky. It's right in front of me. I'm having to like be at a weird angle when I'm using my projector. And you have to hold my hand just the right way whenever I'm using my projector. So even though I love my projector, if I have a chance to use a royal icing transfer sheet, I'm going to do that just because I'm able to just have one sheet and I can crank them out fast, over and over and over again and let them dry while my cookie itself is drying. So I'm not having to wait until my cookie dries and then project the hard eyes onto my cookie and then, pipe them out one cookie at a time. This way, I do the royal icing transfers while my cookie is drying, or even before I decorate my cookie at all. Usually my royal icing transfers are the first thing I do whenever I'm doing a design of cookies. I'll sit down and do any transfers that I need first so that they're drying. They have plenty of dry time so that when I'm ready to use them, they're ready to go. And then after they are dry, you just pop them off of the acetate. And I have some videos on my channel that talk about royal icing transfers. I'm going to have a whole lot more. I have tons of videos ready to go that talk about royal icing transfers. So if you're curious about how to use them and what I'm talking about, just keep checking back on the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos showing all sorts of different transfers I've done. But after those transfers have dried on that piece of acetate or parchment paper or whatever you're using, some people use like heat sealing bags, like cellophane bags, just whatever you're using to actually pipe out your transfers. Once those have dried, you just pop them right off. And then with just a little bit of royal icing on the back, put a little bit of icing on the back of your dried royal icing transfer. And then you just put it onto your cookie. And that's like, it glues the royal icing transfer onto your cookie and you're done and you can move on. You can place it exactly where you want it to go. In fact, you can even put it on your cookie, make sure that's where you want it to go, and then put the royal icing glue onto the back of the transfer and then put it down. So that's one perk to doing transfers, is you can also move it around your cookie to make sure it's exactly where you want it to go. Whereas when you're piping directly onto your cookie some sort of detail work, if you mess up, you're out of luck. Like if that's not where you wanted it to be, or if it just doesn't look great and you want to start over, anything like that, you have one chance. Sure, you can scrape it off, and I have scraped off detail work before to fix some mistakes, but it's really hard to get it really nice and clean where you can't tell that you've messed up. Or sometimes you just have to scratch that cookie altogether and restart it because you can't fix the mistake you made. Whereas when you're using royal icing transfers, it gives you that freedom to kind of move it around your cookie to make sure it's exactly where you want it before you glue it down. It also, using transfers, gives your cookie that dimension. It gives it that puffiness that some people can't get very well with icing alone. Whereas when you're using a royal icing transfer, it's gonna give your cookie some dimension and some depth. And you don't have to worry about freaking out because you have craters later, because you can choose and pick which royal icing transfers you want to put onto your cookie. They're already dried, so you don't have to worry about craters. You can only pick the good ones. But I have to be honest, I get way less craters on royal icing transfers than I do actually designs on my cookie. I don't know the science behind it. I don't understand it, but I don't have craters very often on my transfers, but I could do the exact same design, the exact same icing on top of my cookie, and I'll get a crater on my cookie. I don't know. Don't ask me. It's one of the royal icing frustrations that all of us encounter. So that's my 2 cents. If you want to use royal icing transfers, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, you can just project the design onto your cookie like I did for all of these cookies. Or of course, you can just freehand this design as well. And that is it. These emoji hard eye cookies were so easy. I am excited to see if any of you add this to your Valentine's Day sets this year. I'm excited to see any color combinations you come up with. And really, the options are endless. Thank you so much for watching today. Next up are some name cookies that you can personalize for Valentine's Day, and that will be released next Friday. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.